the only problem that I ever had with that whole race, and something that I still have an issue with today, is Omega having a vested interest in swimmers.
Welcome to Outside Smoke, episode 15. Clark Burgle here with Kyle Sockwell.
15 of them.
I know. Woo! It's a big number for us, huh?
It was like just yesterday we were on number one. I was up here shaking in my boots.
We've been really pouring them on lately. And today we have a very special guest. We have Milorad Cavic. He's a four-time Olympian. Some would say best known for the 100th herd around the world, but I would say best known for his chili bowl haircut on the cover of Swimming World magazine from back in the early 2000s. So, Milo, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be a part of your 15th episode, and I told you that description in confidence, that chili bowl haircut, Swimming World cover. It still haunts me to this day.
I had to call you on it, man. I'm sorry. I figured, we probably spent too much time talking about the Phelps-Cavic showdown, so I wanted to pick another thing that really stuck out in my memory, and unfortunately it was that haircut.
Just trying to be different.
No, listen, go back and look at your haircuts as kids, and ask your parents, why did you do this to me?
Exactly.
It's true.
It is.
There was phases like the everything spiked straight up.
Mm-hmm. Frosted tips.
Everybody did like the Bieber haircut for a while, where it just draped across your face.
I'm trying a little bit.
Bieber back then, it was Backstreet Boys and NSYNC back in the early 2000s. So
very true. Innovators.
We're not proud of it, but it is what it is.
Big time innovators. Well, Milo, thanks for joining us, man. And I see in the background there you have already gotten to Baton Rouge. I see that LSU Tiger, LSU swimming in the background. Let's hear a little bit about your new home, man. I mean, how's it being down there?
It's been a little less than a week since I've gotten here, and I lived in the Florida Keys for about a year and a half with the race club back in 07, 08. So the weather's pretty similar, but it's nothing like California. But it's just walking around this town, you see every third person wearing an LSU shirt, and they've got nothing to do with the university other than just being here, and they're really proud of it. I mean, whenever I sport, an LSU swim and dive shirt, they all ask me, like, hey, like, you at the university? They're really excited about it, and that's something that I've never really felt, back in the Pac-10, which is actually the Pac-12 now. The level of pride of the SEC, it's something I just haven't seen before.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always heard, growing up through the college system, is that the SEC meet itself and just the conference in general is always just crazy.
Yeah, you're going to love that. It's women and men at the same meet. It's very different than the Pac-12. Somebody that swam at both. It was almost shocking to go to the Pac-12 and see how calm the meet was compared to SEC's, and the energy there is incredible. And as you said, SEC does not take their sports lightly, so it's got to be fun for you.
Don't.
No, I mean, the fuller the house, the better. I mean, and you know what? Spectators don't know this, but even if they're 10 feet above us or 10 feet above the pool, like, you feel the energy swimming the race and knowing your teams are just cheering for you, and the more the merrier. Really, just kind of, it really adds to the atmosphere. But they say it's a long meet. It's emotional, and it's something I'm really looking forward to.
Definitely. So, Milo, got to ask you. You've been out of swimming for a little while now, so you retired after the 2012 Olympics, correct?
That's right.
And since then, you've kind of experimented around with professional work. I mean, I know you said you worked in the finance industry for a little bit. You were back home in Serbia, and you've been kind of all over the world. And you've also, you had just recently had a child. So give us a rundown of the past 5 years of your life and what brought you back into the sport of swimming.
After my career, I started a swimming school in Serbia, and I did that for just about 2 years. The economy out there is tough, and really for a lot of reasons, it just didn't work out. And then after that, the thing about being an athlete on that level for so long is you have a tough time trying to find a job. If you start your life kind of at the age of 30. Mm-hmm. And trying to find a job, it's pretty tough. And I think the more important question is just to find something that's going to kind of give your life some purpose. When I was looking for a job, it had to be something that, first of all, satisfied my need for sport. And that's sales. sales is a tough industry. If you want to make some money, you're gonna make some money in sales. But to find something that you're actually passionate about, it's going to give you some purpose. It's definitely a challenge. And for a lot of reasons, I entered the financial industry since my family went through a lot, like many people in the 2000s with the fall of the economy in 2001 and 2008. It was interesting. I learned a lot from it, but it was for me, it was a miserable life. And I quit that job as soon as I found out that my wife was pregnant. Went to be with her in Europe, and ever since becoming a father, and really having spent a year with them and seeing him grow, and especially now when he's in that exploration phase, where he's just starting to notice a lot of things. And for example, if he looks at a picture, it's a piece of paper to him at start, but at some point he's going to notice the photo of the person on there, and you'll see it in his eyes when he discovers that. And having been in Europe, I was so close to Italy, and my old coach Andrea Di Nino with formerly known as ADN Swim Project. Now he's the GM at Energy Standard. He's a coach of Chad Leclos. So I've had a couple of opportunities to go to Italy and to work with Chad, and that was really where I kind of caught the swim bug and the need to come back. I look back at my college career and also working with Mike Bottom in 2012 and seeing his kids come to the pool deck at 8 a.m. at the end of their morning sessions. And, I close my eyes today and I just see myself and my wife and baby coming in and just joining us after morning workout. And for me to have the opportunity to get in the water with my boy, it's just a dream of mine.
So you mentioned getting back in the water. How often are you in the water now?
Well, I was getting in the pool maybe 2 or 3 times per week. For me, I mean, having been in Europe for almost 6 years, it's tough just because their master's programs are not really developed. So a lot of master swimmers from Europe, they're really training on their own. And out here, I mean, when I was back in Irvine, I was training with the masters group with Mike Collins, and a lot of people are just so excited to be working together, and they're just so happy to swim. And fortunately, I'm one of those that's lucky enough to be able to end his career and still have the passion to get back in the pool, which is unfortunately not something which a lot of people have. Once they're finished with their careers, they're burned out. They don't want to have anything to do with swimming ever again, and that's a real shame. And I'm really lucky to really love getting in the pool still. And hopefully that'll be something that I could do with the assistant coach here at LSU and others. We'll see. Just got here.
Yeah, and for everybody watching, you split a 24-4 on the celebrity relay at the Energy for Swim meet. You chased down Andrei Surdinov, Olympic medalist, Peter Mankoch, like the fastest short course meters, 100 IMer of his time, and 100 flyer, and held off Yevgeny Korotishkin, who was a silver medalist in 2012. So it looks like you still got it, man. And that was in a Speedo.
I could still do it, but just do it once. Don't ask me to do it again. I can do everything great, really one time. But that's just that's how you measure somebody that's in shape or out of shape. If you're in shape, you can repeat things. With just a little rest. That I was hurting the next day. I'm not gonna lie.
And so going back to the transition from being such a high level athlete to a professional career. To the people that are listening that haven't gone through that transition yet, what would be one thing that you would have changed looking back?
One of my greatest regrets, was that I never really gave too much time or effort into racing the 100 freestyle. When I retired, a year after I retired, I thought, man, like if I come back, I would just come back just to swim for the 100. I would just come back to train for the 100, but it's a mindset being a 100 freestyler. The 50 freestyle is just an animal. Like you have to have that instinct to just do everything correctly. But really, the 100 freestylers, those are the big guns. They're the alphas on the pool deck, and anybody making the 100 freestyle final in any world championship or Olympic final, they're the most respected and they're the toughest. And I just kind of feel like I never really trained and gave my all for the 100. So if I could go back and do it all over again, then I would definitely give some time of the day to the 100. But just career-wise, man, if we really go back and think about, all the things that we would have liked to have changed, you would never sleep.
Yeah.
But
True.
you would never sleep, and you know what, like, as athletes, when we lose or when we don't do something, as best as we could, it should fuel you to want to get back in the pool the next day and to make sure that you get it right the next time around.
Definitely. And Milo, you've had this incredible journey. You've trained, with Dave Salo, growing up, and you trained with Mike Bottom at Cal and at Sprint Club, and then you went and trained with Andrea at ADN and probably a couple other ones in between as well. I mean, you've picked up all these little pieces of knowledge along the way. How do you think that's going to differentiate you as a coach? And if you could share a couple of things, maybe it's differences between the coaching philosophies between like a Mike Bottom and an Andrea Danino, or just a difference in the way that they train athletes in Europe and America. How are you going to use those to help, your LSU athletes really make big strides in year one and beyond?
One of the great things about Dave Salo is his coaching method and his approach is one of the things that, is one of the most, but I would say it's just one of the most talked about things in the swimming world. For a lot of his athletes, he has them train once per day. And his approach is, if you do train once correctly, and if you do give it 110%, there should be no reason to come back and do a second workout. There are guys that, have done the 200 who have actually had success training once per day. Mm-hmm. And really, you have to buy into that program. If you don't buy into that idea entirely, it's never going to work out for you. I actually talked to Chase Kalish about it, and he's just one of those guys. He's like, hey, like I'm one of those people that has to put in the yardage for me to feel confident enough to get back and to do it again. And there are guys like Marcus Rogan and Kita Jima and so many others that were training at Club Trojan that were doing one-a-days. And you have to buy in, and you have to do it right. If you don't, then it's not going to work. With Mike is known as a sprint guru, and one of the things with Mike Bottom that you can always expect to just have it just incredibly technical meetings with him and workouts. And one of the great things about Mike that I really walked away with Mike was he's somebody that teaches you to really train in emergency mode. You have to think about what it is that your body does in the last 10 to 15, 20 meters of every race when your body is shutting down. Everybody's body shuts down, starts to legs, goes to your arms, and then your head. For me, when I was finishing my races, my vision got really, really blurry just because I was pushing myself to that very limit. And with Mike, he trains race pace like many people do. They throw that term around, working race pace, but if you add the element of preparing yourself when your body starts shutting down, knowing what steps to take when you're shutting down, it really kind of prepares you for that moment. He likes to teach you to embrace the pain. It's going to happen. Embrace the pain, but know what to do when it happens. And both Andrea and Dave, they're visionaries of the sport, incredibly brilliant minds. Whereas Andrea Danino, he's the scientific guy. He's got the scientific approach. He's a numbers kind of person. Anything swimming wise, he's the master of trivia, and he knows whatever it is that coaches out there are doing, he's replicating. But one of the biggest differences with European swimming and American swimming is European athletes, when they go to workout, they go to workout for themselves. They go to workout because it's going to benefit themselves. Whereas American swimming and college swimming, many of the top programs and something which, is something that we're pushing here at LSU is go to workout not for yourself but for others. Because if you come to workout, I'm going to be better for it. If I go to workout, I'm going to help you, and together we're going to step up that level of training. And you really have to take the selfishness out of your mentality and your approach here in the United States, where in Europe, it's all about oneself. They really truly believe that out there, swimming is an individual sport. I'm going to work just to help myself and no one else. And if you just so happen to benefit from me being there, that's good. But I'm not going to tell you my secrets. I'm not going to help you out with your technique, just because if I help you out, I'm taking away my competitive edge. That's the European way of thinking, whereas the American way of thinking is, hey, if we share ideas, what works for me might not work for you, but we might catch 5% of whatever it is that we're sharing, and that's going to make us better. And if we work together and we're pushing each other, we're going to be better for it. And really, that's the way to go today. That's the direction of the world. If we're interconnected, if we're working together, we're going to step up that level, and we're going to do everything better, no matter what.
Yeah, that's just good for the sport. That kind of mindset where, it's not about me being in my lane in the pool. It's about
very collaborative.
Yeah, and a more team point oriented mindset, as opposed to when I hit the wall, did I go the fastest time I've ever gone, or ever gone in season in this pool at this time in this suit.
Yep.
And really, it really prepares you for the real world after your career. If you can commit and buy into the team idea, whereas if we're working together, if we're helping each other out, it's going to help you out throughout your whole life. Just because if you train your hardest alone, like, you're slowly going to get better. But if you work together, that curve it's a lot different. And really buy into it for 1 year, and you'll see the difference. But really, out there, for a lot of reasons, they're very much into swimming selfishly, and and it's just a way of life, and slowly but surely they're catching up to that idea too.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about college swimming. We have a Wildcat and a Sun Devil here. Some of those moments were, the best moments of my swimming career, because it wasn't really about the clock. You look up and you see the number next to your name, you know what points those are going towards. Mm-hmm. That's a really good point.
And it just makes it significantly easier to go to practice every day, get lost in the team aspect of it, have your group of friends around you, and then you end up training harder because most of us are very competitive.
Yeah.
And you push each other, and I think that's really, really important thing.
For the athletes that I've worked with in the past, even abroad and also here in the States, I like to just drop the quote from John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Swimming wise and NCAA wise, really, don't go to workout asking what your teammates and what your team can do for you, but what you can do for your team. And really, people, especially from the SEC, from what I hear, once you have your whole team, both men and women, behind you, cheering for you, and just a much bigger crowd cheering for you, like, it just definitely steps up the level, and your swimming steps up when you live for something larger than you, or you swim for something bigger than yourself.
Yep. And we've seen you do that on an international stage, and and also a college stage. You've really climbed those ranks of being one of the best high school, collegiate, and international swimmers, and kind of feeding on that energy the whole way. Which kind of brings me to my next point, where I got to get personal with you, just because we have the opportunity to speak with you. Tell us about that race in 2008. Like, really just walk us through, from your point of view, what went through your head before. How are you approaching the race? Did you think you could win? I think the answer is yes. Did you, what went on there? Because for everyone watching, it was really one of the most memorable Olympic moments in the history of any sport, just in the history of the Olympic Games. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about it. I know you've probably explained it a million times, but I was put the Milorad Cavic goggles on and get your experience.
Listen, it's a question and a theme that comes up pretty often. It's something that people remember and will be remembered for a long time. And I'm actually really proud that in some sense I've been immortalized in swimming. Through that. And,
legend.
The truth is, once you're in the Olympic final, everything's possible. But if you're in the position, you have to, if you want to go for the gold, you have to have the attitude that there's no way that you're going to lose. And another quote that I kind of keep rolling back in my mind, and I think it's actually from the movie Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. And I think Al Pacino said it at one time, and he said, when the devil smiles at a man, all a man can do is smile back. And for me, when I close my mind and I visualize that race and that moment and that situation, not just for myself but for everybody, whether religious or not, the devil's going to win at some point. And for me, like, I just imagine, my competition in that moment, it was actually Michael Phelps, and he was just swinging at me. And the only way for me to defend myself is to strike, and not give him the opportunity to strike back, because when he does, he's going to win. And if that makes any sense, like, I'm kind of trying to paint you a picture to where I attacked with the hope that, if I attacked enough and well enough, he wouldn't have a chance to strike back. And tying that idea in with one of my heroes growing up, Stephen Prefontaine, he said that, that there was no way that he could ever lose just because there was nobody willing to hurt as much as he was willing to hurt. Now, if I go out as hard as I did, and leave nothing in the tank, when I finish that race, the only way that I know that it could be a good race or that I've given 150% of myself is to know that it was a perfect race and that I've given everything if there was nothing left in the tank. And what you're really interested in your question is what do I think about the end of the race, and how do you feel about Michael Phelps? And I've got no negative energy against Michael Phelps in that race, just because Michael, like myself, we were training every single day. We trained for the Olympic Games and to put ourselves in position to be in that final and to live that moment for an opportunity to win the Olympic gold. I
mean, you pushed him to history, though. It's like,
it's true.
Not only in that individual race, but to 8 golds. That was really the defining moment of his journey to 8 golds. Well, and you made him fight for literally like millimeters. Maybe not even millimeters, just like a technicality.
Listen,
we won't get into that.
I remember getting, just coming to that Olympic Games, and it was actually in what people don't really kind of pay attention to. It was Jason Lezak that actually helped him achieve those golds. Just because people don't remember the power in who Jason Lezak is. This guy, like, if it wasn't for his split at the end of that 4x100 freestyle relay, they never would have won the gold against the French team. And
that was
they don't give him enough
gold.
They don't.
It would have been
give
over
him enough credit for it. The United States should not have won that race just because they were stacked with the French team was stacked. But Jason Lezak is just one of those guys that stepped it up and really had he not stepped up to that level, they wouldn't have won the gold, which they did. And really, everything else, all up until that 7th race with myself and Michael, that was the only questionable race on route to 8 gold medals. Was he going to win the gold in the 100 fly? Just because if he did, then the 8th gold medal in the relay, I forget which relay it was kind of a given for me. Yeah, it was the 4x1 medley, and the United States was going to win that no matter what. Yeah. And really, for just to finish the race that way, they even over Twitter and just people were just spitting on Michael, and it's just like, guys, like, this has nothing to do with Michael Phelps. He was just another racer. He was another horse in that race, and what happened. The only questionable, the only problem that I ever had with that whole race, and something that I still have an issue with today, is Omega having a vested interest in swimmers. If such a race were to ever happen again, and such, with the same circumstances, would it have ended the same had Omega been the sponsor of one of those people? I don't know. We'll never know, just because that race was so unique and such a special race that we'll never truly know what might have happened and I only say that just because it took Omega a couple of days to come up with an explanation to kind of talk about and to explain what had happened technically.
You guys broke the system.
Yeah.
We broke the internet before we broke the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that race did break the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the only races that I remember watching, and then, I mean, it took me a long time to really kind of understand what happened.
Yeah.
Because especially in the last 5 meters, I mean, Phelps was out of it for pretty much everyone, and then even at the touch, it just didn't look like he won.
It was crazy.
So,
I mean, the air was sucked out of the building. I was there watching Caroline, and
yeah,
it was there were just gasps. It was incredible. But
yeah.
I mean, like after that, I mean, moving on from that, I mean, that's a great lesson that you can talk to your athletes about, right? Is you can prepare, you can, as you said, swing, not give somebody a chance to strike back and win. And no matter what you do, sometimes you will lose. Even if you are totally prepared and you leave it all in the pool. And so, like, having to deal with that at the world's biggest stage can only help you deliver that message as a coach.
Listen, I mean, being a 100 swimmer, even for breaststrokers, but just really being a freestyler and a flyer, you have to attack that race, and you have to be of that personality. If there's a burning building, you're running toward that. You're running toward the fire. Mm-hmm. You're running toward the battlegrounds. You have to have that attitude. Just because if you're hesitant or if you believe there's a possibility of losing, it's going to happen. Now that's just kind of what's helped me. I'm that kind of personality. I'm somebody that's pretty intense and and it's helped me, but it's not something that works for everybody. And just for me, it's just something that if I recognize that there is a swimming personality within any groups of people that I work with that have a similar personality, I can share that with them. There are different approaches on how people, Brendan Hansen, for example. I remember watching Brendan Hansen, and this is one guy that you look at his face and he's just swearing. He's cussing everyone else out, or his competition out, but not negatively. Like he's pumping himself up, and this is something that he has to do. And there are athletes that have to spit in someone else's lane to make themselves feel better.
Amy Van Dyken.
There are different approaches, and it depends on your personality. And it's really about helping your athlete find what helps him get himself up and ready for the occasion. Just because that opportunity, it's unique, and especially if you find yourself in an SEC final, NCAA final, Olympic final, you have to recognize that this is it's an opportunity, it's a moment, and that moment, it's going to come back again. But are you going to be the same person, the same swimmer when it does the next time around? And really, you have to leave the pool with no regrets. Give it your all, and do what you got to do, but just walk away with no regrets.
And that. My final question here before we kind of wrap it up. I don't want to keep you too long, but it kind of takes me to a question I've always wanted to ask you. I don't know why I didn't ask you when we were in Rome, but after that games, how long did you take out of the water? How prepared were you for 2009, and how confident were you heading into that race that you were physically prepared as much as you were before 2008 to beat Michael? And was that your goal, or was your goal, I just want to win the world championship. I don't care if it's Michael that I beat or I don't know, whoever else was in that A final. It really was just a match between you two.
Yeah, it was.
Well, one thing was for sure. At that point, I'd been working with Mike Bottom for 6 years, and I knew that after that season, I had to make a change, and it wasn't just changing, scenery, but I had to get out of the American system. Wanted to see something else, so I left for Europe. Being with Mike Bottom for such a long time, I really at that moment felt like. It was just one of those things where, that if it's Wednesday afternoon, you're doing this, it's just something that, when you spend enough time with a coach and a program, you know what to expect. And I needed to change my scene. That's why I left to Italy. But going to Italy and working with Andrea Danino, Randall Ball was there at that time. Mm-hmm. Kim Vandenberg was there. Fabiola Molina from Brazil was there. And, it's a risk. Knowing that I wanted to go to the World Championships and beat Michael the next year, it was a risk changing coaches and changing programs. But it was something that I needed to do mentally. And one of the toughest things about switching coaches is that coach going to know how to taper me. And really in those moments, it's all about being an adult and taking some responsibility for yourself and really communicating with your coach, saying, hey, coach, this is what worked for me the last couple seasons. I want to make a small change along the way, but I know it works. And just to be on the safe side, we got to do my taper this way just to prepare yourself. But, everything that leads up to that taper is equally as important. And for me to have lived in Italy, the country of the World Championships that year in 2009, it was really, really, really special. And for it to have been in Rome, the home of the gladiators, after that Olympic final, I thought that it was just a special opportunity to meet Michael again in that World Championship final in Rome as gladiators. And it was a cool moment. And one thing that I talked about, at the Rome meet, with Energy Standard was that competition was the final World Championship, the outdoor World Championships ever, just because the temperatures out there were 90 degrees. And at that time we were wearing those bodysuits, and it was miserable to have to put those bodysuits on at that temperature, just sweating like crazy. And for that reason, they made sure that every subsequent World Championship was indoors and air conditioned too.
Yeah. So I mean, talking about 08 and 09 with you and Michael, obviously, I mean, the 100 fly kind of was immortalized just as an event after that. And now looking forward to this World Championships that we just had, I mean, the 100 fly was absolutely ridiculous. There were 6 guys under 51. So what is it like looking back? I mean, that was, I don't want to say that you couldn't swim other events, but that was really your event. What is it like looking back now and seeing, how much that duel between you and Michael has, really turned this thing into an absolute beast? How is it watching these guys now?
You know what? I mean, listen, the 100 fly is a boss event. If you want to be the big dog on the pool, like you gotta swim the 100 freestyle, right? But the 100 fly, it's a tough race, and I'm not just saying that just because the results clearly say that. And watching the World Championship final, I think it took a 50-point. Boy, what was the time just to make the final? And I even on my Instagram I took a snapshot of it, and I was like, man, I'm glad I don't race or swim at this level anymore.
Yeah.
But when I was racing, when I was during my career, the world record in the 100 fly, it was 48.4 by Yevgeny Koroteshkin from Russia, and I was with a bodysuit. And then literally last December, Chad Leclos with the jammer went 48.0. Now definitely 8-9 years has gone by since then, but it's just kind of crazy to see how far we've come, as a human race, and really just watching Caleb Dressel and the times that he's throwing down. Just, it's just incredible that these times were unthinkable in a jammer back then, to see how far that we've come today. Is it a mental thing? I do believe that it is. That it is a mental thing. Before it was possible, everybody thought that cracking 50 in the 100 fly was impossible until we did it. And we thought for a long time that it would never be repeated again, and then Caleb did it. I do believe that in the next couple of years, we're going to see a couple more 49s in the 100 fly. But it's important for somebody to crack that barrier and to show that it's possible for it to be possible again. Where have we really come? Have we really changed our swimming methodology and training that much to have allowed for it? I think so. Working out in the gym has changed dramatically. We definitely are not working out in the gym today as we once did when I was in college, and many people of our generations and who's still in the swimming world very actively, they would know that. Is it about supplements? Supplements have something to do about that. It's about recovery in the swimming game, and especially at this level, it's all about going to work out, having a great workout, recovering just so that you can come back and do it again. And really, today the big question is it enough just to feed yourself the right way? Is it enough just to sleep? A lot around the pool, you see people, with those hypoxico, those altitude tents. You see people, with these ice baths that, they've got these computerized ice baths. It's all about recovery. And a lot of athletes are doing things today which we weren't doing back then, or that we didn't have the technology for back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here, Milo. I know I said I was done asking questions, but I got one more, and I think Kyle would love to hear the answer to this too. I'm gonna put you on the spot, hardcore right now. So this summer was the summer of Caleb Dressel, and all of a sudden it's like everybody forgot who Joe Schooling is. So let's fast forward to next summer, maybe 2020. Who's actually better at the 100-meter fly?
One thing that I, people asked me who I thought was going to win the 100 fly, and I really believed it was going to be Joseph Schooling. Not because Dressel went to Florida. It was no. The thing is really, competing at the NCAA level and swimming 12 times within a couple of days, it's very taxing on the body. But, swimming at the World Championships and doing every single race, 3 times, it's equally as taxing. So what's kind of amazing and incredible is to see Dressel, having won, several medals, individual medals, and having seen him go through every single round, every race 3 times. And really it was just a question of whether or not he was going to be able to bounce back after that many races. And he did it. I think for the 50 free and 100 fly, especially there at the end, like he didn't even take his jammer off. He just literally did the 50 freestyle. He dove into the warm down pool,
21,
swam out
49,
literally 400 meters and was back at it. It's just a matter of can you recover fast enough, and Caleb was able to do that. The thing about being young is you're able to recover. With age, that gets tougher. So, 3 years down the road, is Dressel gonna be able to keep doing it? I think so. Just because for swimmers, our golden age and our golden period really is between the ages of 24 and 28. There are people that have shown results after that. Anthony Irvin won gold with 36, but they're just really people. Just biologically kind of fall off after that point, and really it's about your ability to make changes, to either train smarter or to just really change something within your stroke that's dramatically going to help you make a difference. And I think one of those guys that for me a phenomenon is Laszlo Czech from Hungary. This guy's 33 and he's still doing it, man. Nobody knows how he's doing it, but he went from a 400 IM to a 100 flyer, and he's whatever he's doing, I want to know. But it's
he's Hungarian, man. Those guys are just workhorses.
They're workhorses, but you know what? Just step by step, he's been getting better throughout the years, and really, from that guy specifically, I haven't seen him really take off or make a huge change. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I beat him at the European Championships with the 51, I think 51.4, and he was a 10 slower. And then at that same Olympics, he won the silver medal with. I don't know. It's just about making changes with age, and is Dressel going to be able to do that? I think so. It's definitely going to be a challenge for Troy. I mean, how do you make that better? Yeah. But Troy is Troy. We'll see.
Well, great. Well, Milo, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's really cool to see you down at LSU. I'm stoked to see the type of results that you guys get, but more so just to see the type of knowledge that you kind of share with these young individuals, and helping them become a part of a team, and really seeing you guys get in that SEC championship and ride that wave, the emotion, and swim fast. I'm sure you're going to get them hyped up and ready for success.
It's a young staff. I've been with a lot of great coaches. These are some great coaches, and really, I'm just so excited for me to get back into swimming at this level and to work with these guys, and especially at this university. Like, you have the right backing, you have the right groups of people working with you, and I think it's gonna be a great season.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with you again soon. Have fun at Junior Worlds, and good luck with the start of the season.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
You too.
See ya. Well, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
All three.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Cool
talked about
story.
it during the show. I mean, it's one of the most iconic races in not only swimming history but Olympic history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that picture was everywhere.
I think it's like
Everywhere.
as far as a still shot, that picture,
Yeah.
it's the most iconic image that I can recall from any Olympics beside.
And I mean, if I'm gonna, well, yeah, if we're talking Olympics, then yeah,
I can't
definitely.
think of anything.
But I mean, if you go to the number 2 picture, it's probably them in Rome staring
Yeah,
at each other.
or Michael flipping his suit up
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. I mean, and that might just because that was when we were growing up. That was what we were watching.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like even people that are in this new Caleb Dressel era, like, no one forgets that. It's got millions of views on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he did. He went out like a
every
shot.
every single time he goes for it. And he having done that commentary with him in Rome, he talked a lot about the way he trained his body to deal with the pain at the end of the race. And he said that they did some work with free divers about how to conserve oxygen in your muscles, which sounds ridiculous.
Those guys are insane.
But it just shows you that he was going the distance to see if he could hold on and could get that victory. But like you just mentioned, I mean, I don't think we can overlook the fact that there probably wouldn't be Dressels without Phelps and Cavic and Lochte, because they really paved the path to set up the world for people to think they could achieve these big times and win all these gold medals. So it's pretty cool seeing one of the fathers of the modern sport right there.
And I mean, like he mentioned with breaking barriers, I mean, if we go to the 100 freestyle short course, I know it's kind of it's a very different race. Dressel went 40 point flat.
Yeah.
Like, how long ago did someone break 41? And I mean, we had
barely a couple of years ago. I mean,
now
it used to be 41.81 or 41.80. It was like Biondi, and then Tony tied it, and now it's 2 seconds faster than that.
Not to mention the 19-second barrier in the 50. Now, even to make the not the Olympic, the NCAA final, you have to go like 18.7.
Yeah.
And Dressel's just going like 18.1. But I mean, such a cool opportunity. I mean, it's a race that everybody remembers. If you don't remember it, you should go watch it right now, along with the other 4 duels between those two, I'm sure, if not more. Just really cool to hear from his perspective, everything about that story.
Yep. Great to hear from him on that. And it's going to be pretty exciting to see how he does at LSU. So keep an eye out on him. He's going to be down there coaching. And, I'm just really pumped to see what he offers from a technical perspective, and also just from, having his point of view from having so many different coaches and traveled so many different places. He's really going to be a positive influence on these athletes. So best of luck to Milo.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on Outside Smoke episode 15. Until next time.
See ya.
Peace.